Welcome to Cranky Live, the show where bold minds meet real talk. This isn't your average sports or news show. It's where we break down sports, culture, and controversy with facts, fire, and fearless honesty. Here, truth cuts through the noise, and hype gets exposed. From football to track and field, from world issues to local debates, we ask the tough questions, speak without fear, and go deeper than the headlines. We don't follow the crowd, we set the trend. While others recycle the same tired takes, we bring fresh insight, unfiltered analysis, and bold perspectives. No echo chambers, no puppet talk, just real conversation for people who think for themselves. Listen with your brain, not just your ears. Think critically, question boldly, and speak freely. This is Cranky Live, where reason rules the mic and truth always win. Come on, let's get into it. Bless up, bless up, bless up. Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening. Sid Jargons was here early. Fortis, how you doing, Fortis? Thanks for being here. I appreciate you being here and coming here very, very early. You got your 5:19, which is about 11 minutes before start time, which is good. People, as you come in, please, the request. Please hit the like button. I'm doing two shows today, actually. I'm doing a show just for an hour. This show is an hour. We're going to talk about what I call the Isak SAGA. And then at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is 7 p.m. Jamaica time, I'm going to do a program talking about the Jamaica's football recruiting policy process, probably more like process than have a policy. And then as an addendum to that, or supporting that, is I've had some discussion with a couple of people in the UK whose kids had aspirations to play for Jamaica, and it did materialize. And we'll walk through part of the frustration, the process that they went through, and how challenging that was. They didn't want to come on live, but I sort of took their story and I will relay that story to you. So hopefully you can join me at 8 p.m. this evening. Hopefully I can survive this hour and maybe we can do the 8 p.m. show. And that should be good, actually. I'm looking forward to that discussion. So the news, if you listen to UK media like I do, especially Talkforce, and bless up Ty, thanks for joining. The pervasive news in that environment is about the Alexander Isak saga and what has transpired as it relates to him wanting to leave Newcastle. It's my view on this is that obviously it's the biggest transfer story of the window. We thought Wirtz, who came in from Germany, would have been probably the biggest given the fee that was paid, or Gokares, Arsenal bought him for what it seemed like chump change now, just over 50 million, probably 60 plus with add-ons. But Isak, who has been brilliant last season, if you look at Isak, and we go through his record actually, but has been brilliant last season, scored over 20 goals and had a number of assists. And Arsenal, the team he played against us twice, scored against us twice. Liverpool offered 110 million pounds for him. Newcastle says nope. Under the table discussion or around the corner discussion, I suppose the secret discussion that they want 150. And they don't really have a striker. They have a young kid on their team, but Eddie Howe says he's not, at this moment, he's not the solution. Isak came out more recently, which was all over the airwaves today, broken by David Ornstein from The Athletic to say he won't play for Newcastle again, regardless of what transpires. And the headlines are painting him as an awful person. So here's my question to you right out the gate before we start this. Why is it that when a player wants to leave, they're viewed and treated as a villain, but when a club wants to move a player on, it's just good business? So drop your thoughts in the chat. I'm really, really curious because I want to hear from you what your perspective is. Because some of you may be Newcastle fan, even though I'll be very surprised. because a lot of people in the chat are probably Jamaicans, not necessarily Newcastle fan. And if you've ever been to Newcastle, I've gone by Newcastle. It's a very industrialized town. DJ Gig says some of the fans in football don't deal with players good when they don't like them anymore. So I can't blame them. Exactly. So let's go through this quickly, actually. Isak came to Newcastle for about 70 million euros, about 63 million pounds. What was that? Real Sociedad. And before that, he was at Dortmund. A kid with a lot of potential, but always injured in some way, shape, or form. Dortmund sold him. Real Sociedad. Arsenal were looking at him for a while, actually. We looked at him, injury prone. Then he was basically a 1-in-3 striker, right? Probably score one goal every 3 games. So nothing close to what he is today, right? And he's been brilliant for Newcastle. He comes in as Newcastle's record signing for 63 million pounds, delivers big goals, helping get into Europe, plays a key role in their cup run. Fans loved him. I'm going to use past tense because I'll play some clips. Not every fan loves him anymore. But now he wants to push for the very top. He wants to go to Liverpool, who is trying to be Real Madrid by bringing in everybody and their mom who are good players. People, please hit the like button. 20 people, 10 likes. That's not good. Want to win the big trophies, playing the biggest games. And suddenly he's used as a traitor. But be real with me. If you were in his position, be honest, would you stay or would you go? Right? Let me know that. And Drew Ross said, yeah, love, definitely. Yeah, it's past tense. Yeah. Bless up, Odell. So it has been a very interesting time. And Newcastle fans are losing their minds. Now, the problem for Newcastle, we don't realize, is that their owners have a lot of money. The club doesn't have a lot of money, if that makes any sense, as it relates to PSR, right? Which is profit and sustainability rules, which is the whole financial fair play rules, which basically says you have to make the money to spend the money, is how I put it. You can't spend more than 70% of what you earn on wages. Okay, you can imagine that's a pretty stringent number was remaining. And I'm sure some clubs struggle to stay within those parameters. So that makes it difficult. Now, this isn't just an Isak thing. Let's be real. Wissa, who's at Brentford, is being poached and tried to be pried away by Newcastle, right? And he's being called a distraction. So here's the contradiction in all this conversation. Newcastle fans are complaining about Liverpool trying to get Isak to come to them and calling him a traitor, and he's disrespecting the club and he doesn't want to play and he says he's not going to play anymore, while they're trying to pull Wissa out of Brentford, which is going to affect their fans. It's a merry-go-round. Now, the contradiction. So there's a contradiction related to Newcastle, which is they're trying to do the same thing Liverpool is trying to do to them. So they're hypocrites. But here's where it gets worse. There are players who have been treated awful by their clubs across the board. Let's go through them. Chelsea, Sterling, Chilwell, Maurice Jackson. They got Sterling from Man City. He played 2 years? Can't use him anymore. Went to Arsenal, went back to Chelsea. They can't train with the first team. Last year they did the same thing to Sterling and did to Chilwell. They cannot train with the first team. That's how bad it is. So you bring me in. You tell me how great I am. You gave me a big contract. I may not produce as you think I should, and you want to get rid of me. But I have a contract. But you tell me you can't train with the first team. But when I decide I don't want to train with the first team because I have ambition, I want to go someplace else, you're losing your mind. Huh? You're losing your mind. Does that make sense to anybody? Man U, Sancho, Rashford, the previous year, Martial, a number of players, Anthony, who wants to go to Real Betis. These players may not have produced at the level fans expect or managers expect, but they want to get rid of them. And fans don't care. In my own team, if you hear Arsenal fans talk nowadays, you didn't know that Thomas Partey played for us. All I hear is Zubamendi. I haven't heard one person mention Thomas Partey, probably apart from yours truly, who rate the player highly. But the point I'm trying to make is fans don't care. They only care about winning and care about their own pleasure, and they don't care about the players. Because their viewers, players make a lot of money. Why should they care about the players? But why do the players give a damn about you? You don't care about them. It's the same pattern over and over again. If a player pushes for a move, they're greedy. If a club pushes them out, it's refreshing the squad. They make too much money. They earn too much wages. Nobody forced the players, the club to sign the contract. Demshire, good evening. Thanks for being here. Jura says, Man, you treated no one bad. We want them to get them, so they just aren't valued. Yeah, but that's the point, Juras. You don't value them anymore. Rashford was valued. That's why you gave him 350, right? Sancho was valued. That's why you bought him for Dortmund for 70-something plus and gave him 250 or 300, whatever number you're giving him. You valued him then. But after a while, you don't value him anymore and he should just go away, just disappear, even though he has a contract and a big contract. But when a player want to do the same thing, people lose their minds. That hypocrisy doesn't miss me. I can't get over that hypocrisy. Now, I mean, these players do have very good stats, right? If you look at the stats for the three players that are up here, and I didn't mention Jackson because we'll get to Jackson. Look at Isak's stats. 23 goals, 6 assists, so almost a goal contribution every game. Wissa, 24 out of 35, and this has been Wissa's best year by a mile, right? And then Bueno, who's now at Man U, formed a very, very good tandem and scored a lot of goals. And then Jackson's numbers aren't stellar. I think he had more goals last year. I think he had 14 goals last year. He had 10 and 5. So he has a goal contribution every 2 games. But here's what's interesting. So Chelsea wants to sell Jackson for 70 to 80 million pounds, right? And yet they bought in 2 players. Pedro for 55 million pounds, and Liam Delap for 30 million pounds. So the 2 players they brought in, if you add them up, probably ties into what they want for Jackson. But Jackson's not good enough. That means he's not as good as 2 players. I am very confused, people. I am confused. You bought 2 players who's going to play with a man you want to get rid of, but you want more money for him than those 2 players probably combined, or as much money as those 2 players combined. That is crazy stats and crazy situation. Now, if you look at the ages, Isak is 25, Jackson is 24, Wissa, I think, is 28. And if you look at Wissa's history, that's why you can't give up on players too early. He played for a lot of lower level teams. He was sold to Brentford for 10 million euros. Now they want 50 million euros for a 28-year-old. I don't think they're going to get it. But Newcastle is desperate, so we'll see what happens. But the point I'm making is this: hypocrisy just reigns, right? So many fans side with the clubs who a lot of time are wrong, who a lot of time make commitment that they don't honor. Bad assessment doesn't mean they really hold that value. I'm not sure what you're talking about, Juras. Elaborate, Juras. Jason, after me see what Chelsea get for Kai, it would surprise me. Chelsea does sell high. They're typical venture capitalists. Buy low and sell high. We paid 68 million for Kai. Don't ask me how. Now, many fans have sided with the club. Fans see a player who makes 150 a week and think, you got no right to complain. They stop seeing the human side of this, the players, their family, the player's ambition. And here's what nobody wants to think about. The fans have no problem when their team upgrade. Yeah, well, you pay the time you pay them, Drew Ross, is what you think they were worth. You wouldn't pay them what you think more than what you think they were worth, or less, right? The agent wouldn't allow you to pay them less. You pay them what you think they were worth, or what the market could bear. And now their value may have depreciated, but that's your problem. But you don't care about them. You want to get rid of them. But why should they go, or why should they take less money? If a coach says you're not good enough, you don't fit my system, and replaces you, fans will clap and say, that's the right call. But if the player have the audacity to decide the club isn't good enough to meet their ambitions, to meet their expectations, to meet their goals and objectives, Suddenly you're selfish, you're disloyal, you're a snake. They use all sort of derogatory names to call these players. I don't know how that makes sense. And I'm not sure why the players shouldn't be able to do the same thing the club does. As I mentioned before, Newcastle opposite with Liverpool, but they're doing the same thing to Brentford. So the hypocrisy goes without the club, but they can afford to do so. And then we get to the main antagonist in this whole equation. What other side of the conversation? There's no other side to it. There are two sides. There's the one side where the club can get rid of players, send them to the reserves. They can't train with the first team, even though they have the contract, which is derogatory, which is belittling, which is dismissive of the player. And there's the other side where the player wants to leave and he's being called all sorts of names and he's the worst thing ever. Right? And then we get to the main culprits and the main antagonists. I'm going to play some things you listen to, and then we'll critique them. The media. The media.
Look, Alexander Isak is adamant he will not play for Newcastle again. Even if window closes without exit, Tyneside career is over and no wish to reintegrate. Clubs say not for sale. Wow.
I mean...
Wow. Who does he think he is, by the way?
Correct.
Like,
Correct.
Listen, I can have banter with Newcastle,
Correct.
but like, who do you think you are, mate?
Correct, mate.
Who do you think you are?
See, I'm talking about people. Look how he starts off. Who do you think you are? He's Swedish. He's not English. He has no obligation to Newcastle. Right? Who does he think he is? He's diminishing him and demeaning him right off the bat. That's Gabby Agbonlahor, who's a player for Villa, who actually was captain of Villa, got demoted because he couldn't live his lifestyle the right way, as they say. Was Villa, ended his career early, was out of shape when he ended. They were very good forward at one point, by the way. So when I see players criticizing, you have to like wonder, like, did you ever look back at your own career?
Has that been released? That's cricket.
Yeah, it's been confirmed. Like,
wow.
Who do you think you are?
That's exactly what I am.
Disgusting. What that club's done for you.
And by the way, have a think about
Jesus.
this.
What the club has done for you. Have you heard more rubbish in your life? It's business. It's a contract. You bought me for 63 mil. I came to your club. I have almost a goal contribution, almost a goal to game contribution every game. I won you a cup. I got you in the Champions League. And what you have done for me, you told me you're going to renegotiate my contract. I have a 3-year contract remaining in my contract. You're going to give me more money. You didn't. You say you're not going to renegotiate it because the person was supposed to do it, Amanda, whatever her name is, she left. So you said you're not going to renegotiate it. Fine. So I want to leave. Liverpool came in for me. What the club has done for me? What has the club done for you? The club don't do anything for players. The players are an asset. The players play. They play well. They get paid. They don't play well. You get rid of them.
Have a think about this. If you're Liverpool, or you're Liverpool fans, is that the kind of person you want to be signing?
Real Madrid want him in 2 years when he's 27. He'll do the same to you.
Of course you will.
Wow.
Of course you will.
Ali, and the fact that Newcastle missed out on Shesko, they've got every right to say, listen, you're going nowhere. We've lost Callum Wilson. We can't get Wissa over the line yet as well. We're not going into the season. They've got Villa on Saturday.
I'll tell you right now.
And they could do with him against Villa.
I know. I'd love Newcastle to do it.
I'm fuming, mate.
But I'd love them to do it, but they won't be able. I'd just fine them every week.
I'm not a Newcastle fan, but I'm fuming for them.
Yeah.
Who does this guy think he is? Like, you've had a fantastic season.
Yeah.
Settle down a bit, mate.
And why did he sign the contract if it wasn't going to honour it?
Exactly. I get it. You want to go and explore and go for a bigger club, but if it doesn't suit the club, shut up. Get your boots on. Big season for Newcastle. Want to start the season well. Villa away, tough game. And now you're saying you're adamant you don't want to play. Like, what?
That's unbelievable.
Wow, that's wound me up.
So that was the first one. I have two with Gabby. I'm going to play another one with Gabby Agbonlahor. Losing his mind. Gabby Agbonlahor used to play for Villa. He's now at Talk Sports. He's on the morning with Adam Brazil. They come on like 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 4 a.m. Jamaica time. And they have a three-hour program. And he also does guests. So Ali McCoy also is a well-known pundit or analyst, actually. And you hear how Gabby's carrying on, right? As if he was a saint when he was playing and doesn't take any player's perspective. In Jamaica, them call this a bad mind because it's a bad mind thing. Because he's thinking that the player is obligated to Newcastle. The player is obligated to himself and his family. The player is going to go to Liverpool and make more money and have a better chance to win. The player is ambitious. Why is ambition a negative? Now, yes, if you're a fan of a club and a player wants to leave, of course you're going to be perturbed because you want the player to stay if they're playing well. But I don't see that same energy. I don't see that same outrage. I don't see that same view when a club put people like Sterling or Chilwell or want to get rid of Jackson because they don't satisfy their needs. I don't see that same uproar. So fans are only selfish for their own personal needs. So if a player, why did I give a damn about you? Because only you care about yourself. You just want to win. You want to have the best team. And I want what's best for me and my family. Oh, there's crying. Let me just put this up. Oh, that says, can you see this here? Oh, it says, Crank, same Arsenal player you have in your background. Talk about players do on live by your similar situation. I wonder if he forgot he used to play. Yeah. I mean, players sometimes forgot that they played, right? Players sometimes forget that they play and how they used to be, and that the fact that money does talk. Arsenal used to lose players every year, right? The Fabregas of the world, the Adebayors of the world. We used to be a selling club. And now we became more of a club who buy young and try to retain players. Or now we're buying not young anymore because we used to just buy young. Now we're buying people who are ready-made. But we were one of those selling clubs before the Crankies decided to spend some money. Or before we started generating more revenues. I think we went from like 4-something to 7-something, 700 million. That allows us to spend more. But at the end of the day, Newcastle can't spend what their owners have because they got to make the money to spend it. And unless they find a way to sponsor themselves like Man City did, they're going to struggle to meet some of the demands of some of these players. And plus, I think part of the problem is this. Yeah, Odell, I recognize that, Odell. I think part of the problem is this, people. Nobody want to live in Newcastle. I'm sorry. It's an industrial town, that time forgotten. Nobody want to live in Newcastle. You may have some nightlife in Manchester if it rains a lot. Nobody want to live in Newcastle. But let's keep going. Let's play another Gabby rant.
We'll head to the phone lines right now. Sean's a Newcastle fan. Good morning, Sean.
Good morning, Sean.
Good morning, gents.
This is a Newcastle fan.
How you
Sean.
doing?
We're doing brilliant, mate. Thanks for taking the time to call us. What about this news this morning, mate? What do you think?
Oh, it's shocking, isn't it? The way he's gone on is just despicable, man. How can you just refuse to turn up for work when you're on 120 grand a week? It makes the rest of us in the country, right? Newcastle's a working class.
What do you know what his compensation have to do with you? Why are you going to get a profession you can make £150,000 a week? Why are you hating on the man because of what he made? He didn't pay himself. The market pays him. He plays in a profession. He does a profession where a lot of people watch a profession. They all contribute. And his compensation is high, just like a actor would be, or a person who does AI nowadays would be. I see an AI person being hired by Meta or quote-unquote Facebook for $100 million, right? That's kind of money people are making in certain professions. Don't hate on him. It's not his. He does what he does. You go get good at something and make that kind of money. Why the money has to come out first in terms of what he made versus what you make?
Area, socialist values, and you're just spitting on the entire population of Newcastle. If we turn around to our bosses and say we're not coming to work, we get the sack.
Correct.
Why can't that? He's got 3 years on his contract. If a player shows gross misconduct.
Okay, I'm going to stop this again. He said if he doesn't go to work, he gets sacked. You're not in the same profession. And first of all, if you go to work and you're not doing well, they will let you go. They will fire you. Just like how the clubs put the players in the reserve when they may not be supposedly doing well, or if they were falling out with the manager like Sancho had with Ten Hag. It happens.
Conduct like that. Why can't they say, right, you're sacked and you can't play for anyone till your contract would have run out?
Yeah.
Do you know what I reckon would happen if there wasn't PSR rules, mate? Sean, I reckon The owners that you've got would be like, you're going nowhere, mate. But the problem is now with PSR, you can't afford to let a £120 million player rot in the reserves. That's the problem.
No, I agree, mate. I agree. We've got to get rid of this anger as soon as possible. Get the money in and try and move on. Otherwise, our whole season is just going to be about a bloke that doesn't want to play for you.
Excellent, Sean.
Be a football club of.
I have one more with the famous Simon Jordan. Well, let me just say this. They bought him for just over £60 million. They're going to sell him for at least 120. They doubled their money in 2 years. What are you complaining about? You bought him for 60 something. He produced. You're going to sell him for twice the money. Stop crying. Get on with your life. Do I want to see him go to Liverpool? Hell no, I don't want to see him go to Liverpool. Then we have a harder time to win the league because he's a brilliant player. But the player has ambition. Liverpool wants him. He doesn't want to play for you. I know he has a contract. But when players on your team are not producing, you get rid of them. So the player want to get rid of you. It's just the reverse. Good evening, Tycoon. So Drew Ross wants to know, is Garnacho behavior acceptable and is Rashford behavior acceptable? Let me just say this, because this also is not talked about. A lot of times the club come out and provide their side. We never hear the player side. There are three sides to every story. All you hear 95% of the time is the club side, not the player side. Players are like stooges. I know that would not be me. Even that time when I was younger, I would be saying something. I am not shutting up. So Rashford I think he went to Ireland to party and something didn't go right. And he say he wasn't training right. Really? We don't know if he was training right or not. Garnacho didn't start and he acted up. I see Pep Guardiola take off De Bruyne and he lost his mind. I see players act up a lot of times when they're not treated a certain way or they should be treated a certain way. It happens. So let's not pretend like it doesn't happen. It all depends on who you are. Certain players get away with certain stuff. Certain players can't. Is Garnacho behavior when he didn't start the Europa League final against Tottenham right? Of course it isn't. But at the end of the day, the coaches have all the power. Amarin has the power. Amarin is the one ostracized. After a while, people, you should always think about this. Think about this. There's only one theme in those conversations. It's the manager is the theme. Sometimes the manager is wrong, but the manager is never wrong. No, I wouldn't take it. Doesn't mean I would fire him. I wouldn't take it, but that doesn't mean I would fire him. I've had difficulty with staff sometimes, but I may give them a warning and put them on probation. Doesn't mean I fire them. If they also are, I don't know exactly what he did. I know people say he pushed back on the manager and he acted up, but I don't know exactly what transpired. But I'm sure when people are emotive, if you've been in changing room, people get emotive, they lose their perspective. You got to bring them back to reality. But let's think about Anthony, for example, Drew Ross. What did Anthony do apart from not producing? You guys ostracize him. And now he wants to go to Real Betis. You guys want to let him go because the price is not right. I don't know if they try to reconcile with Rashford. All we get is the media side. That's the problem I have, people, is the media side. Let me just play the last tape because Simon Jordan always have his perspective. Let me play the last one and then take this down and we can talk about it.
Excellent, Sean.
To be a football club of significance, they have to control their own destiny. If they don't meet that expectation, you will do as you're told, in the same way that Marinakis filled the void. Because
so here the dictator now, because he used to be an owner before he lost his club to Parish, right? Crystal Palace. He used to be an owner. He made a lot of money when he was young. Before he was 30, he was worth like 30, 40 million. Had a phone company, bought a football team that he used to be an apprentice at, and his dad was a supporter of, and somehow his ego got the better of him and he lost his way. But he's a very smart man, but he's also a dictator. And he also believes players should hold their corner and doesn't like players, doesn't like agents, and he comes across really well. So this is Simon.
he made clear in the player's mind and the player's representation, I will set you guys on fire unless you play properly with me and my football club. If Liverpool want to buy you, they'll pay 150 million quid. If they don't pay 150 million quid, you're not going. If you start the dynamic very clearly in the way that potentially others do, which is very clear to the player, first of all, we don't have an understanding. Second of all, you're not going to do this. Third of all, it's on our terms. I hope that Newcastle are bold enough, big enough and strong enough at ownership level to turn around and say, I don't think so, son. If Newcastle want to be a football club of...
Where are Newcastle?
So I'm not going to play the rest of this tape. It was just Simon's take on the whole situation. And Simon's take is Simon's take. That's how he is. His view always is he doesn't like agents. He berates agents. He's right about something about agents and players. The clubs right now pay agents a lot of times, especially in transfers. They get huge fees, and then they get more than 10%, 20% of the purchase price. And he believes the player should pay the agents like they do in the US. I agree with that. Right? I agree the player should pay the agent. But I'm very uncomfortable with players being treated like trash because they make a lot of money. That is not okay. Jura says, the CEO said if you have been there for multiple years and not perform, it's time to move on. The team doesn't have an issue with Anthony. He's just not doing well. I agree. So, Juras, let's flip that. I'm at Man U. I am Fernandez. I am doing well. Man U finished what? 16, 17? If I want to walk away, is that okay? Or would Man U fans have a problem? Or I'm Isak. I'm at Newcastle. We won a trophy. We're in the Champions League. I got you there. But Liverpool is better. They won the league. They have a better team. They're going to pay me more money. Why shouldn't I go there without getting any grief? Why should Newcastle fan calling me a rat or a snake or all these derogatory terms as if I didn't help them achieve it? Right? So Jura says, okay for Fernandez to walk away. That means he doesn't rate Fernandez. That's my perspective, Jura. But I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's fair for the players and the media is the worst in the UK. I'm telling you, those tabloids were running for, like how YouTubers run to get views and all about views. The tabloids are all about readership. They're all about listeners. Yeah, all about listeners. And it's so obvious the way they operate, which is they're going to take the side of the fans. It's not even the side of the players or owners, it's the fans. Because all the fans are going to be upset and they wind these fans up and they call in and they support them. Because they get a bigger viewership and they get the viewership that supports their narrative and their perspective. Jay says, Man City is bigger than Newcastle. I've never seen him try to block a player from leaving, so I don't know what Jordan is saying. But I think Man City, Pep Guardiola's view is this. If you want to leave, you want to leave. You want to leave, you leave. So Savinho, who plays on the right wing for them now, it looks like he wants to go to Tottenham, and they're not going to block him. I think they want to keep him, but Guardiola's view is that, to me, Guardiola's been saying, I'm the most important person here. None of you are important. If you want to leave, you leave. I'll find a replacement. No, when CR7 wanted to leave Drew Ross, let's be fair, he went to Ferguson, I want to leave. Ferguson gave me 1 more year. He gave him 1 more year. Then he sold him to Real Madrid for what? About £70 million. So it was an agreement between Fergie and him to go to Real Madrid. And people like living in Spain. Spain is nice. Real Madrid, Barcelona, weather is nice. Place is nice. If you go to Barcelona, the sea's right down the road. That's not the same in England. Sorry. Ain't the same weather. It's not the same environment. Not the same lifestyle. I don't know anybody who live in Newcastle. I'm just saying. Not beating Newcastle. I don't know anybody who live in Newcastle. Different place to live. Industrialized town. Now, nobody's running. I never heard nobody say, you know what? People like to live in London. Some will live in Manchester. Some will even live in Liverpool. They're not running to live in Newcastle. And the club doesn't have a history of success. They won their first trophy in the last 70 years or whatever the number was when they won the Carabao Cup. So, yeah. Yeah, they didn't complain because they knew he was leaving and they agreed that he played his butt off the last year. Right? So, yeah, they and you got a lot of money for him, Drew Ross. But you were winning every year anyway. You didn't really care when a few players leave. Yeah. But I don't understand the venom that players have to undergo or would dispute at players when they're looking out for themselves and their family. I was listening to it, but I'm going to give you one example where I don't believe a player should take the money. In most instances, I think a player should do what's best for him and his family, financially and otherwise. But there are exceptions to the rule. Not many, maybe 1 or 2. Here is one. And some of you may be too young to know this. But way back in the day, when we had apartheid in South Africa, a number of West Indian players went to South Africa to play because the apartheid regime gave them a lot of money. And Yagaro, who used to be who played for Jamaica, captain Jamaica, very brilliant cricketer. I don't think he was in the West Indian team at the time. I think he had lost his place when he went to South Africa. And more recently, there's been a conversation about that, which is, should he get the acclaim and some, I don't know if it's a statue or something named after him in Jamaica. And some people are for it and some people are dead against it. And my view is this. You can't sell your soul for money to anybody who is inhumane, in my view. And the apartheid regime in South Africa is one of the worst set of organizations or set of people on the planet. And if you are black and the people being oppressed are black and you're taking the money from the white oppressors, I can't support you, ever. I don't care how destitute you were, and you weren't that destitute. You may have need money or want money, and if it was need, but you can't, I'm sorry. The Kerry Packer situation, when he's an Australia person trying to change cricket, that I can live with, right? People may have been upset. But taking money from the apartheid regime that's killing black people, that put black people on 13% of their land, took 87% of the land, and then later on you hear Trump complaining about white farmers being killed when it's not the farmers being killed, it's just South Africa is a very violent place, even still today. I can't live with that. So yeah. Tycoon says Ramsey to Newcastle did finalizing 40 million. I thought Ramsey was looking at West Ham. I didn't know Ramsey was going to Newcastle. I know they want. Let's go back to the whole Wissa thing, right? Because Newcastle want Wissa, but they want to pay 25 million for Wissa because I guess he's 28, and Brentford is saying no. So Brentford lost Ivan Toney last year. They lose Mbeumo. They're going to lose Wissa. They're losing all their offensive players, and they lose Norgard to us, who's the captain, even though he's 31. He played well. Yeah, I'm talking about Yaga Rowe, Lawrence Rowe. Yes, Tycoon, Lawrence Rowe. So it's tough. You look at these numbers. Wissa scored 19 goals and had 5 assists last year. I think Mbeumo scored about 20. You're taking off 39 goals or 38 goals from 2 players out of your team. What are you gonna do? You're gonna be struggling to not get relegated unless you bring in some stellar replacements. So I don't know how that would work. I have no idea how that would work. Doesn't make any sense to me. And then we have Nicholas Jackson. Now, Newcastle is looking at both Wissa and Jackson. They do 2 forwards, right? Because if Isak leaves and he says he's not playing for them again, well, we know how that works. And then they had the other forward who, his name is eluding me now, who went to West Ham. He was at Bournemouth. He came to Newcastle with Eddie Howe. Wilson. They had Callum Wilson. And Wilson was injury prone. And I guess they want to play him on some kind of incentive contract, which is what he has at West Ham. And he said, no, he wants to try something new. I don't know Nitro if Colin Kraft did actually. I can't remember. And the problem that you have with this is that Jackson is a very good footballer, but not a very good goal scorer, and he's a center forward. That's a problem for any team that he goes to. But he also very raw. If you look at his history, he didn't play a lot of games in Spain. Even though he's 24, he's very raw, playing at the highest level. I think he'll get better over time. I think he's going to surprise a lot of people. I actually rate Jackson. I think in 2 years' time, he's going to be a very, very good forward. He needs some more time. He needs some more confidence. He needs some more composure in front of goal. I think he's going to be a very, very good player. But I just see 10 and 5 doesn't really do it. When you have 24 and 35 like Wissa, or 29 and 34 like Isak, that's the comparison. Now I think they can get. Baggio is saying he did go actually. I think they can get. Wissa for about 40 plus, and I think they can get Jackson for 50 plus. I don't know how Chelsea does it. And here's another point, people. So Newcastle fans are losing their minds, right? About Isak leaving and say he's not playing for them again. Let's think about Madueke to Arsenal. Arsenal fans are signing petition. They don't want the player. And the player is silent. Now, me I tell people, me not silent, me not care. Probably wouldn't even go if me I am from Chelsea. But Chelsea want to get rid of him, even though he's played well for Chelsea. Right? Even though he has played well for Chelsea, they sold him. So I don't understand the narrative. I don't understand the perspective. I don't understand the vitriol for these players like Isak or Wissa at Brentford. Because if you look at Jackson, if you look at Sancho, if you look at other players like Sterling, Chilwell, so many players who are being sent to go play in the reserves because management says we no longer value you. And yet we're going to kill a player who says, like a Wissa who wants to go to Newcastle because the people is more money. People think everybody in the Premier League make a lot of money. If you play for Brentford and some of these other teams, lower teams, Brentford, Sunderland, Crystal Palace, you're not making a lot of money. You're not making a ton of money. Now it's a lot to the normal man on the street, but not in the footballing world. Not everybody is like Haaland, who's making what, probably 400 plus. Not everybody is like Rashford, who makes 350. Sancho makes 250. Saka, who's making about 200. Declan Rice, who makes 240. Havertz, who makes 280. Not everybody makes those numbers. So I don't understand the hate, and the career is short. That's why I tell people, do like what Demarai Gray did. When you're young, go to Saudi Arabia for 2 years. You're going to make as much as you make in 2 years, you make for your entire career. And the reason why is a couple of things. One is you're going to double, triple, or quadruple your salary. Unless you're Ronaldo, you probably make 10 times the number, maybe 5 times the number. And then secondly, if you stay out of the country for a certain amount of time, it's tax-free. So you're making 3 times the number, and you're keeping the 3 times the number, then you're making about 6 times what you normally make. So Ivan Toney, for example, is making about 50,000 at Brentford. He's making 250. He's taking home, if he's making 50 at Brentford, giving UK's tax of 45%, if you make over 150 a year, he's probably taking home $27,000, $28,000 a week, and he's taking home 250. That's 10 times the number almost. That's what we're talking about. So you go there for 2 weeks, you go there for two years, you make more than you're going to make for your entire career. You can come back to Europe and play football. I'd be running for that money. Bailey is not of 100K, but he has to give the taxman about 45% of that number. Because I think he may now be a resident. If he wasn't a resident, when I was there, you could form some corporation. Don't spend the money. You couldn't spend the money, though. Just keep the money on the side for a while, and then you leave, you figure it out. It's a way to sort of work around it way back when. I think they closed that loophole. At least when I was there anyway. Because I wasn't a resident. I found a way to work around paying tax for a certain amount. So Nitro says, Rebels ban was rescinded. So I don't agree with the objection to Rowe being honored for what he did for the Rebel Tour. Nitro, you're missing the point, Nitro. You're missing the point, Nitro. You're missing the point. There's a moral obligation you should have in life. I'm sorry, you have a moral obligation. Nobody's stopping you from going to take the money, you know. But don't expect my praise later on. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm not going to give you my praise or my support. I'm not going to ask you to be honored because there are certain things in life which cannot be bought, in my view. Certain things you cannot buy. You should not be allowed to buy, but you cannot buy. And when you go play for people who are that reprehensible, you sell your soul. Jamaica is one of the first countries who was anti-apartheid, publicized against it, and did everything that they could to show where they sat and what they were doing. And then we have a Jamaican go and take the money. I'm sorry, I can't support that. I can't support that. I can't laud it. I can't applaud it. And I don't think I can. Can I forgive the person? Of course. But I ain't going to advocate that you get some kind of honor. Not doing that. I don't see how I could do that. Tycoon said, Liam Bailey will remain a Villa player. Selling Ramsey is a win straight profit. Yeah, Ramsey came. Here's another thing people don't understand, right? Because people keep saying straight profit, straight profit. That's true. If you're an academy player and they sell you, so if it's 40 million they bring in, it goes right to the bottom line. But if you're Leon Bailey, what do they pay for Bailey? They pay 35 mil for Bailey, right? If they pay 35 mil for Bailey, it's a 5-year contract. After 3 years, it's only 14 million worth of cost on the books, So if they sell him for 40, they're going to make 26 million. They make a profit. Now, you may not see it that way because you're going to say, well, I paid 35. So if I sell him for 40, I made 5. That's not how the books work. If you buy the player, you're going to amortize the player, which means every year you reduce the value of that asset. So if you bought this for 35 million, and so for 5 years, 7 million get taken off your book every year. That's what they call depreciate the asset. So when you sell the asset, if it was 14 million remaining, instead of for 40, you're going to make 26 million profit at the bottom line. So it'd be 26 compared to Ramsey's 40. So at the end of the day, it does. Sometimes people say, well, I had like the Grealish situation. Man City bought him for 100 million. It's a 5-year contract. That means they're taking 20 million off the book every year. If he was there for 3 years and they sell him, the cost would be 40 million. So they want Everton now has him on loan with a purchase with a obligation, not an obligation, but an option to buy him for 50 million. First of all, who the hell would buy a player who can't score goals, who's a good player but can't score goals for 50 million at 30 years old? You must be out of your mind. I think Everton just want to get the loan done, and Man City just want to feel good about themselves because they paid 100 million for him. Everton ain't paying no 50. I wouldn't pay more than 10 million pounds for Grealish. Not happening. Grealish is not a prolific goal scorer. He's a good football player. He's got skills. When he was at Villa, he was very good. He hasn't been very good when he's been to Man City. Maybe when they won the triple, he played quite a bit. His defense got better, but stop it. England love him because he's a maverick. Remind them probably of Gascoigne, but yeah, stop it. Yeah, Jargons, I think that's what people are doing. They're making players look horrible, making players look terrible. A lot of times it's not the player's fault, but the players get the blame. And sometimes it's not even the players, it's the agents. Some of these players don't do anything. They just exist and play. What games do you guys play? Them video games? Play FIFA or play whatever you play? NFL? What games you play? I don't play video games. And the agents take care of everything. They got the agents. They have the advisors. They're the ones tell them how to behave, what to say. They're the ones write. What everything they're going to say, they write it for them unless they get impromptu interviews. So at the end of the day, I sometimes find it very difficult for those players when it comes to how they are perceived, because a lot of times they say nothing. They say absolutely nothing, and they get vilified, they ostracized, and the British press has to be the worst. People has to be the worst. They're terrible. But look, the players do make a lot of money, and if you're a place like England, and you hear the caller that talked about Isak talked about their socialist place and what people make or don't make. The average comp in England is not that great. I'll be honest, it's not that great. People think it because it's an industrialized country, it's a first world country, the average comp is not that great. Now, when I was there, bus driver was making like 30-something thousand pounds a year, or 40,000, something like that. It's not the best compensation. And mortgages aren't cheap. Housing prices aren't cheap. I have no idea how, and you know what they have? They don't have fixed rate, They have variable rate. So that's why people can afford to buy houses, because it may be the rate may be 3 or 4%. They buy it, and then after a while, the rate goes to 7%. They can't afford it. So that's what people run into in England, actually. But it's not a place where one can say a lot of people. Some people are highly compensated, but the average person isn't. And also, people have this view that if you're a footballer, you should shut up if you make a lot of money, no matter what's happening around you. I can't buy into that notion, people. I don't think it's fair to the players. I think it's unfair to the players. Anyway, this is a short video. I'm only going to be here an hour. I have like 5 minutes left. I'm coming back at 8 p.m. this evening. I just want to talk about Isak's situation because it was very prominent It was all in the news. And I figure I have to give my 2 cents because I just think everybody taking the same place, right? Everybody's saying footballers are not loyal. And I'm saying fans are hypocrites. Owners are hypocrites. Media is hypocrite. Oh, there's a cranky. Is this a league problem or a FIFA problem? Because I see teams do the same thing in Spain. What are you talking about, Odell? Elaborate. Yes, Tycoon. Totally agree with that, Tycoon. Hey, Odell, come back to me on that. I wasn't sure what you're talking about. Yeah, let me just say this, people. Everybody and their mom wants to be playing regular football because next year's World Cup. Because World Cup is everything. That's why I'm so surprised when certain diaspora players are reluctant to say, for example, pursue playing for Jamaica, not because they love Jamaica, but because they want to get to the World Cup. And you would think they would make this if it's a sacrifice. Because look, I've heard this through the grapevine, which is some players don't like to travel, flying all that distance. They prefer to go rest versus come play some game someplace, environment they're not familiar with, and the challenge that entails. They may get injured, like a noseworthy. They don't want to take that risk. They prefer to get injured, play where they're making their money versus someplace where they may not be appreciated. But the World Cup is such an enticing endeavor that I'm very surprised that, you know what, more of them haven't made the effort, frankly. Tiger says, interesting issue, don't want to sell Amari. I think 40 minutes is good enough. They should sell. I think they believe they're looking at João Pedro, they're looking at Madueke, they're looking at Giddens, and they're saying all these players are going for 50 mil. He had a brilliant under 21 Euros. He played well during the season. He didn't score a lot of goals and a lot of assists, but he played well. And they believe he's in that ilk, so they should get 50 mil for him. They only paid about 20 mil for him, from Chelsea. And by the way, he went from Arsenal to Chelsea for nothing. Chelsea then sold him for 20 million. I'm sure Chelsea probably have a sell-on clause. And now he's going to be sold for at least 40 mil. So Chelsea's making money all the way around. And those people who were slating Chelsea and how awful they are and how terrible they are and they don't know what they're doing, they don't understand that the people who own Chelsea are people who has made a lot of money investing. This is all a business to them. Buy high, buy medium, sell high, give these players long-term contract, lock them up if they're assets you believe you want to keep, and then you sell them on for a profit. And they may be good players, so you generate revenues, more and more revenues. These venture capitalists don't play people. They're very good at making money, and you can see, and Todd Bowley get a lot of credit, but he's not the main person behind it, the whole Chelsea thing. It's the guy who owns the, he's part of there's another person who's worth about 14 billion, I think it is, who is behind all of this. Todd Bowley is rich, but here's another partner who is richer than he is, and is also part of the brains behind their operations. But he doesn't really go out front and get all the notoriety, actually. They are part of the whole Dodgers baseball team setup. But yeah, Tycoon, I think. And we see what happened to Amari Hutchinson, because he may have aspirations to get into the England team. I don't think that's going to happen. England have too many players for him to get into that team. Now, they care about winning, but they don't believe they should settle on any one player. They just move players around, right? It's like trying to fit a jigsaw puzzle. Certain players they'll keep. They'll keep a Caicedo. They'll keep a Lavia. They may keep a Fernandes, I say. They'll keep a Palmer, right? But doesn't mean players like Sterling, who's getting older, and they have some kind of age limit they work with also. Estevao, João Pedro, Gittins, they're all early 20s or younger. That's who they want in their team. They don't want any old players. They just want young players in their team with a lot of potential. And as such, if you pass a certain age, you're going to get rid of you. And they've been doing it quite a bit, and it's been working. And I'm sure they're going to keep on doing it. But anyway, that is my speech or my spiel on this topic. If you have time, come join me back at 8. I'm gonna do more of these actually, people. I'm not just gonna do Jamaica football. In fact, I'm gonna do less Jamaica football, to be honest, because it's not Reggae Boys time now. But I'm gonna do this program because I promised I was gonna do it. So I'm gonna do this program this evening. Talk about the recruiting strategy for Jamaica football, coupled with the examples of the two individuals who had aspiration to play for the under 20. Hey, me can't wait to talk about people. Come join me 8 o'clock this evening. Me can't wait to talk about this. Because the same under 20 team that kept the score down. It was only 15. They got in 3 games, so they kept the score down. We're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about the under 15 a little bit. Talk about the under 20. Talk about these two players, and talk about the recruiting strategy. So come back at 8 p.m. this evening. Hopefully I can recover. I was supposed to go to the gym after this, but that ain't happening now. I can't go to the gym. I don't have the energy to go to the gym, work out for an hour, come back, and be ready to do this program at 8. So maybe I go to the gym after the program. Maybe I do an hour's program from 8 to 9 and then go to the gym afterwards. Because I'm trying to work on this seasoned configuration they call a body. But Jarvis Paris, thanks for the compliment. Before you leave, people, hit the like button, subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. If you have a friend, tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. All right? And thanks, everyone. Appreciate you. Have a go eat your dinner or do what you have to do and come join me at 8 p.m. And Frankie Life is the best to be now for the best sports talk, and it's free, yo. Frankie Life will be your guiding light by keeping you informed both day and night. Frankie Life, tell them. Frankie Life, heed them. Frankie Life, want them. Frankie Life. From the coast to the field, we'll never lose because Cranky has the hottest news. With expert analysis, we break it down. Our in-depth coverage is best in town. Cranky Life, tell them. Cranky Life, heed them. Cranky Life, want them. Cranky Life. Cranky Life, where the sports is spicy and where we keep the discussion lively. Cranky Life, get to know the name because Cranky analysis is never lame. Cranky Life, give me my Cranky Life. I want my Cranky Life. Must have my Cranky Life. Whether it's football or track and field, you know Cranky is at the wheel. So join the journey through victory and debate and subscribe and don't miss a beat of Cranky Life. Tell them, Cranky Life. Heed them, Cranky Life. Want them, Cranky Life. If you're from England or USA, from Kingston or Bombay, from Kenya or Canada, Lagos or Havana, visit Cranky Life. Tune into Cranky Life. Like up Cranky Life. Subscribe to Cranky Life. Cranky Life coming to you on weekdays. Cranky Life sometimes on Sundays. Pull up a chair and take a seat because Cranky will always bring the heat. Cranky Life. Me say fi tell them Cranky Life. Me say fi heed them Cranky Life. On them Cranky Life. Cranky Life will be around. Cranky Life is the best in town. Me say fi heed them. Me say fi want them. Me say fi heed them. Want them, heed them, want them. Cranky Life. Cranky Life. Heed them. Want them. Heed them. Want them. Cranky Life. Cranky Life. Heed them. Want them. Heed them. Want them. Heed them. Want them. Cranky Life. Cranky Life. Cranky. Heed them. Want them. Heed them. Want them. Heed. Want. Heed. Want. Heed them.